by Bucky Brooks of the
Yep.
NFL.com rated Keenan Allen top and Mike Williams as a top wide receiver duo in the league, like top,
Yep.
number one.
Top.
Right.
Yep.
And, look, me as a fan, you're always going to be like, yeah, of course. That's totally true.
We've known that forever.
Yeah.
The league is finally taking notice, right?
You're finally catching up with us now here.
Just to talk about who we have, obviously Mike Williams. I think he's a great 50-50 catcher, great
Yes.
body size, good speed, good route running. I'm going to be interested to see how he plays this year now with a bigger contract and kind of a contract that makes him feel comfortable in the position. Is he going to be better this year? Obviously Keenan Allen does what he does, an absolute perfect route runner. Can't be held down one-on-one. I mean, the guy just finds a way to get open, constantly over 100 catches a year. If we go into this season, the talk about Herbert being an MVP, I think he'll get over 5,000 yards. I think he'll have 40-plus throwing touchdowns. Total potentially could be about 45 to, potentially 46 total touchdowns through running. I think he's going to do great things. Now, just what Kyle was putting up on the screen,
All right, now
and throwing it all out everywhere.
There you go, right there, right there in the middle. That's better. Yeah.
Could we have 3 1,000-yard receivers this season? And we've done it before. We were the first team back in the Air Coryell days with basically Charlie Joyner, John Jefferson, and Kellen Winslow.
There you go.
Yep.
And it's totally possible.
Oh,
it's something that we could potentially do this year, and we almost had it with Eckler back in 2019 with Eckler, Williams, and Allen.
Yep.
And who knows? Like, maybe we have that offense this year to be able to do that. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts about the whole idea of our wide receivers being top wide receiver duo in the league?
You want to go first, Andy? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's spot on. I mean, look, we know the talent that we have with Justin Herbert. My only argument to this would be I think Justin Herbert's going to do a good job of spreading the ball around. He is not going to lock in on just a couple different people, right? I think he's going to throw, again, going back to the J.C. Jackson question, having an off year. Again, the NFL, they scheme, okay, we think their number one is going to be on Mike Williams. They think their number two cornerback is going to be on Keenan Allen. And they're going to break it down that way. Well, where are the matchups that we like? Okay, Everett's going to be covered by a linebacker. I'll take that all day. So Everett will probably have a good game. Parham will have a good game because he'll maybe be on the other side, right? You have two tight ends going out there. So I guess I'm long-windedly saying that I think that's a little unlikely that we're going to have that happen because we're going to spread the ball around with so many different people. And, we talked about Guyton and Palmer having breakout years. I think there's going to be a lot of junk yardage that people are going to be – we're going to be distributing the ball equally amongst the entire team a little more than I think we've done in the past. So I think it's unlikely. I'd love to see it, but I think it's going to be a little unlikely. That's my take on it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, I think we can easily see a 3 wide receiver trio getting 1,000 yards. And my reasoning is because, Justin Herbert's going to have another 5,000 yard season. Like, I 100% believe that. And because of that, like, it could go, well, actually, maybe I take it back. I don't think it's going to be 3 wide receivers with 1,000 yards. I think it's going to be 3 players with 1,000 yards. And it's going to be Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams getting 1,000 yards, not Jalen Guyton, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, or maybe even Everett getting 1,000 yards as well. So maybe, but that's my biggest question is, like, are we going to see 4 players with 1,000 yards receivings? With Everett in that mix as well. That would be freaking wild. I mean,
that would be pretty insane to do something. I mean, you have to statistically think about that. Like, if a quarterback throws 5,000 yards, he's pinning 4 players pretty much every game, which, we have those players that could do something like that. But I think that's probably pretty difficult to do. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think that works, because you have to think the amount of targets that you have to give them, the amount of catches to be able to get them to 1,000 yards, probably would have to be roughly around 70 catches plus to each one of those guys to be able to have a chance to get to 1,000 yards.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. And then if we start going to garbage time, garbage time means they're taking away those catches from those players, and you're going to start seeing a lot more Josh Palmer out there, Guyton, Chase Daniels. Those guys start being the guys out there on the field. And most of the time, garbage time means we're just going to run the ball anyway. So that's where Spiller gets involved. So I don't know. That's kind of a tough thing to really think that. And the one thing in the whole idea talking about, are Allen and Williams a top wide receiver duo in the league? And I think they're good. I don't think they're number one, in my opinion. My hatred for the Raiders is one thing, but I do know and understand that there's talent on that team. And I think Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow are awesome.
Oh my gosh,
awesome!
That's a crazy combination.
Great. And then you throw Darren Waller, who's obviously not a wide receiver, but it basically is a wide receiver there and a big target for them. I mean, Hunter Renfrow has some nasty route running, and the dude still looks like he sells cell phones at a Verizon store.
Yeah,
but
he does. Like a dweeb dude with like pleated pants or something like that,
totally,
and a braided belt or something.
Yeah, right.
But Devontae Adams is a great wide receiver. I mean, I really think that they're one of the top three, if not one of the betters in the league. And, and obviously I'm pinning on a team that we dislike, but Derek Carr is basically the guy that needs to make that happen and make that duo work. And then if you go, I mean, your wide receivers are only good as your quarterback. And if your quarterback sucks, you're not going to do well. And I go to another duo that I think is fantastic, but doesn't have a quarterback, is the Seahawks with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh yeah, those
I think both of those guys are great. But you got Geno Smith as the quarterback right now.
He's not going to get it done.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to get it done. So I think probably what Bucky Brooks is looking at is, well, okay, let's look at the full package. These wide receivers on the Chargers have one of the top quarterbacks in the league now. That's why they're considered as the number one wide receivers in the league, is because you have Justin Herbert. Because you are going to get that ball to him, to those guys, and they're going to get their meals to eat, basically. So I think that's where his mindset was. Who's throwing the ball to these guys? Justin Herbert, great. Allen and Williams are going to have a fantastic season. Yep, they're my number one duo because they have a great quarterback.
Right.
Kind of thing.
I think that's a bold moves, Cotton, because bold
move, Cotton.
Yeah, because the truth is that, like, I mean, I don't see the Raiders, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow being a top 5 duo at all. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that do say that. I mean, yeah, okay. And my reason is because Devontae Adams is on a whole nother level besides Hunter Renfrow. Renfrow? Renfrow. Like, I think, I clearly know that Devontae Adams is going to get the ball way more than Hunter Renfrow is. But then maybe not. I mean, because maybe Renfro is going to get the ball because, Devontae Adams is going to get locked down because they're always going to be double teaming him, maybe, stuff like that. But my thing is, those two, is that, like, when it comes to top wide receiver duos, is how long they've been actually playing with the quarterback. Because they have to have a good synergy with him. And, like, because a lot of times, like, look, when they're out there on that field, they're not thinking, they're just playing. And they have to have, like, it honed down so well about where they're going to be, where they need to get that ball to, and stuff like that. And Derek Carr has not played with Devontae Adams since college. And, everything's going to be different. Sure, like, they're the pros, and they're going to be able to kind of find that synergy again during training camp and stuff. But when I look at these duos, I think of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at Tampa Bay. They got Tom Brady out there. Like, those honestly, those are my top one wide receiver duos out I would throw out there, because look, I mean, they got the best quarterback of all time right now playing with them, and both those players are amazing route runners, and they both have like amazing yards after catch. They are like unstoppable. And then you go down the list as well, and then you have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen in the Vikings. Like they're maybe my number 2. I'd say us, because of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have been playing together for so long, and we kept that dynamic duo together. Now I think they're number 3. Like that's on my list, but they could get higher because both of them are such deep weapons and amazing threats. We're going to be unstoppable with them. So that's my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a good point about the Vikings too. And I thought about them too, but I thought is Kirk Cousins kind of the guy that actually could be on Justin Herbert's level, and he will pin those two guys all the time. Like those are the two guys that get the ball a lot, and Justin Jefferson's a phenomenal wide receiver, one of the tops in my league. You got to go, you got to think, and you got to give a shout out to Joe Burrow and the Bengals though. They have a fantastic
Jamar Chase. Yep.
Yeah, Jamar Chase.
And T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. I mean, those guys are pretty solid wide receivers too. So
Tyreek Hill over at the Dolphins as well too, right? Got Tyreek Hill over there, and yeah. I mean, look, I think it comes down to one thing for me. I really think we're going to spread the ball around again. Remember, okay, I'm taking a step back. We run the Saints offense, right? That's what we run.
Yeah.
And I remember being so frustrated in fantasy football. I never wanted any one of Drew Brees's wide receivers because they were never consistent, right? They always had, because he distributed the ball a lot. He was never one of those guys that was like always picking one or two people. Like one guy would have a breakout game, and then next week he wouldn't have a breakout game because he didn't get the ball for 3 games in a row. So my prediction is, like, again, I still think this year, and again, I will say that I'm going to say one bold thing here too. I don't know that you really want to draft a lot of these players for the Chargers because I think we're going to distribute the ball so much. The games are going to be inconsistent for performances for all these players this year. Now, Herbert would be definitely worth picking up, right, as a quarterback, and definitely Austin Eckler, maybe Spiller. But I just think the ball's going to be distributed, right? And I think these passes are just going to be all over the map. And he's just so, again, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but I just think there's going to be so many games where the ball is just going to be, 5 catches here, 4 catches here. And it's going to be pretty equally distributed is what I'm predicting this next season.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's the one thing that I definitely think, going back to, I think it was 2019 when we basically had Williams, Allen, and Eckler. Williams was at 1,001 yard. He just got 1 yard over 1,000 basically. Allen with 1,119 yards. Eckler had 993 yards on 90 catches. So we almost had another one of those 3-player duo over 1,000 situation here. And I kind of expect something that could potentially be that way. I don't think that's going to be all of a sudden like Allen or Williams has 1,500, 1,600 yards. I think it'll kind of be a balanced amount of distributing the ball. So I think that's kind of where it's going to be. And that's probably a very good point for you, Andy, too. I think if you're going to look at Chargers players as a fantasy purpose, you're going to have to look for them to be who's the big player that's going to be able to get a lot more touchdowns, because touchdowns are pretty key too.
Exactly correct.
So